you. What a beautiful song. And it was written by Richard McDeesey, but of course performed by our own Anna D. George and Mike Serio. So what a beautiful way to open the service. Good morning. Welcome to our Unity of Buffalo Sunday morning service. And we also welcome our viewers on Facebook Live and on YouTube that will be watching this later in the day, later in the week. So let's begin with prayer and take a moment to go into our hearts and know that only love can do that. Whatever it is that needs healing, to make smooth our path, to bring wholeness to our life, to heal the world, love is the answer. And so right now we open our hearts, and open our minds, and just connect with that love that's within us and open it, just to allow it to spread out, to fill the room you're in, to fill your home, to fill our community and our world. We are so grateful for all the things that are working together to help us be connected this morning for our spiritual practice and our Sunday celebration. And so it is. Amen. And our invocation, the core foundational principle of unity, if you know it, please say it with me. There is only one presence and one power, living as the universe and as me, God the good, omnipotent. And Unity of Buffalo holds a vision of a world of love, peace, and abundance for all. And how we do that is by practicing the presence of God through prayer, education, service, creativity, and community. And we can just be a little bit creative this morning. I just thought I'd invite you to just do something different this morning. If you have your video turned on, giving it a creative hello to your friends online. Greet your neighbor in some unusual creative way. Hey. And we use our core values to also express who we are as a spiritual community, to be loving to ourselves and embrace the world, to be spiritually centered, to have practices that help us to keep being spiritually centered in a changing world, to be open and inclusive, to welcoming all, to be respectful. Namaste is a wonderful way to do that. And being compassionate, which means coming from our hearts and saying how we can extend loving kindness, or wondering what does it feel like to walk in somebody else's shoes, and to see the good beyond all appearances. So our daily word is part of our spiritual practice also. And today's reader is Karen May.
Guidance. I open my mind and heart to receive my guidance. Sometimes I have insisted on figuring things out for myself rather than asking for anyone's help. Over the years, I have learned the value of asking for guidance and sharing what I've learned when others ask me. As we exchange ideas, we may tap into a higher wisdom that had not been apparent to either of us alone. This higher wisdom is not outside myself. It is a still, small voice, mine to call upon at any time. I am always able to ask for guidance to show me the way forward. I access my inner guidance by opening my mind and heart in prayer. Then I watch and listen, remembering that divine guidance may come in a familiar way or perhaps in an unexpected way that will surprise and delight me. As far as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Isaiah 55:9. You'd like to repeat the affirmation together? I open my mind and heart to receive my guidance. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. I open my mind and heart to receive my guidance. Perfect. Thank you. And now we open our minds and hearts to receive the blessing of prayer.
Sure, let's all just take a nice deep breath together and focus on the heart space. And just allow our breath to get a little slower and a little deeper as we find a nice, comfortable rhythm. And from this place, I invite you to think of something that makes you smile. And I invite you to smile. And let that smile spread throughout your whole body. Let your whole body smile. And from this place, I invite you to allow the words I speak to be those of your own heart. Divine wholeness, I'm so grateful to be here now, to be praying now, to be surrounded by loving members of my community, whether I'm watching this now, live, or in the future, remembering we are always connected and being able to tune into that still, small voice. As we hear the wind today, we let that voice of the wind refresh us, and we remember all those who have asked for prayer, all those who have prayers on their hearts, and anyone who might feel they have no one to pray for them. And we offer these prayers up in trust and in love, knowing that they are divinely answered in divine timing. And so it is. Amen.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Beautiful. And I was thinking one thing that makes me smile, our grandparents. Today is National Grandparents Day. So if you are, I know we have some grandparents, maybe great-grandparents on this call. And we have one new, Beverly Feldhausen had a new great-grandbaby that was born just a couple days ago. I think her name is Stevie May. So if you're a grandparent and you want to raise your hand, or let us, or bless our own grandparents. We all have grandparents. And let's just take a moment and give our unity blessing to all the grandparents in the world. We love you. We bless you. We appreciate you. And we behold the Christ in you. And I'm grateful for my grandparents that I guess I wouldn't be here if it weren't for them, for all of us. So today is beginning of a two-part series on forgiveness. And we've had some wonderful activities at our church this last week. I want to give a special thank you to our prayer chaplains for the wonderful World Day of Prayer service that we had outside on the Peace Park Wednesday evening. And also for Tom and Kathy Delory and Anandi, who provided the first of a two-part workshop yesterday morning. We had about 20 people online, and we'll be doing part 2 next Saturday. And you can still, I think, jump on and be part of it. I think Tom recorded the first part, and there's a whole website, or there's a page on our website of forgiveness resources. But if you want to get caught up, please check in with me or Tom, and we'll get you connected, or you can use the Zoom link to join us next Saturday. But it was really very rich and wonderful. And Anandi shared some things from her training in music therapy. And so I just want to thank Tom for getting the ball rolling on this. So forgiveness. Forgiveness, it's a foundational unity teaching. You know, it's an essential part of Jesus' teachings. And for many years, you know, it was specifically part of our mission statement for Unity of Buffalo. And then we updated it, but we could still need to add it in there. But our mission statement was part of it was we practice prayer, meditation, forgiveness, love, and spiritual thinking as ways to express the divine potential within each individual. And really, I do think forgiveness is so important that it does deserve to be separated out and listed, you know, like prayer and meditation and all the things that we do as a spiritual practice. And, you know, I came upon a story that I think really illustrates pretty well the importance of forgiveness. And although we may all know it, maybe this image will help to remind you. But there once was a teacher who wanted to provide a lesson on forgiveness. And so she invited all of her students to bring a clear plastic bag and a sack of potatoes to class one day. And then she asked each person in the class to think about their whole life experience. And is there anybody, you know, that they haven't yet completely forgiven, that where there's something you're still hanging on to? And then for each of those instances, to take a potato out of the bag, write the person's name and the date, today's date, on that potato, and put it in the plastic bag. And so, as you can imagine, that there were a lot of people in the class that had a lot of potatoes in their bag, you know, or their bags were pretty full or a little bit heavy anyway. And then the homework was to carry this bag with you everywhere you go all week long. You know, you put it next to your bed, put it on your bed at night when you sleep, put it on the car seat when you're driving, set it on your desk at work. Anytime you go in a store, you got to carry the bag with you. You know, and after a while, you can imagine that lugging that bag around started to feel pretty heavy. And you know, you started to just notice how uncomfortable it was to be always having this bag with you. And of course, naturally, after a few days, those potatoes started to get pretty slimy and yucky and smelled pretty bad. And, you know, and the teacher's point was that this is a pretty good metaphor for sometimes the price we pay for hanging on to lack of things that we just haven't let go of yet. And it can kind of make you think when something else comes up, it's like, do I want to add another potato to my bag? Isn't it heavy enough? And I remember there was one of our teachers at Unity Village in the ministerial program, and I remember she said, this always stuck with me. She said, if you're still alive, you still have some forgiveness work to do. And I just think it's true. It's part of our human experience. You know, things happen in life, and I think probably a lot of us have some of those, what I've heard referred to as those stories that cling to us. You know, things that have happened that it's just been really difficult to let go of or stop thinking about or to forgive. And, you know, and so we know the importance of forgiveness. We know that it's important for ourselves, for others, for the world, but it's the how that's not so easy. And Edwene Gaines is a longtime Unity minister and a master prosperity teacher. We studied a book by her many years ago, and she has this book called The 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity. And she said, she defines prosperity. I really like the way she talks about prosperity is a healthy body, vibrant, you can do whatever you want to do. Prosperity is relationships that are satisfying and nurturing and honest. Prosperity is work that you love so much, it's not work, it's fun. And prosperity is all the money you can spend. So it's like, wow, who wouldn't want that? And so she says there's 4 laws for spiritual laws to prosperity, to have those things. And she says that we need, and one of those laws is forgiveness, that we need to always be working on forgiveness. And she says we need to aspire to forgiveness that is so deep, so full, so complete, that no traces of any bad feeling at all will remain with us. Wow. Forgiveness, we aspire to forgiveness that is so deep, so full, so complete, that no traces of any bad feeling remain with us. Wow. And she speaks from her own experience. She writes openly about her experience as a survivor of childhood sexual abuse and other traumas. And so, is forgiveness? It's not easy, but it's possible. And is it possible in all situations? Yes, I think so. I believe it is. And so, I think of forgiveness as a spiritual practice, like prayer and meditation, that we need to do it more than once, that as we practice it, it gets easier. It takes some time, and we don't always get it right. And the results, if you're learning to play the piano or sing or dance, it takes some time. It helps to have friends and support and coaches and mentors. And the results are cumulative. So forgiveness as a spiritual practice. And I find too that it's helpful for me to just kind of acknowledge progress sometimes, that I can think about, well, there are other things that have happened in my life in the past, and I can see how I've really forgiven those. And I feel really clear with my parents and my family. And I really feel like I'm in that place that Edwin Gaines talks about. And so whenever I have something coming up that's in the present moment where I'm not in that place yet, that I can just remind myself that if I could find forgiveness in that situation and something else in the past, then I can do it here too. I can get to that place in whatever's presenting itself in the moment. So one thing that I think is important for us to know is that I think we have a secret weapon. Well, I realize maybe weapon's not the best word to use. A secret helper. We have a secret helper that can help us with our forgiveness work. And for me, that secret helper is guidance, our inner guidance. Our daily word talks about, that I've learned the value of asking for guidance and then sharing what I've learned. I've learned that higher wisdom is not outside of myself, but it's that still small voice within. And that when I ask, the divine guidance may come in familiar ways, or it may come in totally unexpected and surprising or delightful ways. But I think a good piece of advice with forgiveness practice is to move at the pace of your guidance. Sometimes we need to take it slow or take it gentle, or to know that, that different situations call for different things, whether it's calling someone or a conversation or sending a letter, doing our inner work first. If the person is no longer alive or in our lives, there's trusting the pace of our progress. And I remember years ago, someone said to me, sometimes, if it's really a tough issue, you just need to pray for the willingness, or the willingness to be willing, to be able to just let it go. And then just know that we want to be able to do the forgiveness work with an open heart and purity of intentions. I remember I heard a story one time about a gentleman in the Greyhound bus station, in San Francisco. And he was, I don't know, probably an elderly migrant farm worker. And he was sitting in a seat with an orange on his lap. And I guess that was probably what was left of his brown bag lunch. And he was sitting there holding that orange. And he noticed there was a little child across the room that was nestled in the mother's lap. And the little child kept staring at that orange, and so he decided to get up and walk across the room, and he asked the mother's permission, could he give this orange to the child? And she smiled and nodded, and so he took the orange and he cradled it in both of his hands and he kissed it. He gave it a little kiss or a blessing, and then he handed the orange to the child and he went back to his seat. And there was another man that was sitting right next to him, and he observed this happening, and he said, gee, guy, I was really touched by how you kissed that orange before you gave it to the child. And the man said, well, I've lived for 65 years now, and if there's one thing I've learned, it's never to give unless you can give from your heart. And to really just to give it with your love and your blessing. I thought, well, man, that's a Jesus kind of thing. Jesus would do something like that. And I thought, well, what guidance can we gain from Jesus' teachings about forgiveness? Well, I thought you'd never ask, but now since you asked, there's actually a lot. Jesus kind of entered in, I think, a new era of consciousness. It probably wasn't a new topic in Jesus' day, but he brought what he brought to the topic was new. The old paradigm was an eye for an eye or tooth for a tooth, and you got to get even. But in the Sermon on the Mount in Matthew 5:38, Jesus said, you have heard it said, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. But I say to you, do not resist an evildoer. If anyone strikes you on the right cheek, turn the other way. And if anyone tries to sue you and take your coat, well, then give him your cloak as well. Or if someone forces you to go 1 mile, then go the 2nd mile too. I think this is one of those passages that's sort of greatly misunderstood. Turn the other cheek. Does that mean, okay, someone is unkind to you or hits you or something, you just say, okay, go ahead now, knock me on this side. Well, I don't think we're saying that, that rather turn the other cheek means that this is an opportunity to shift your perspective, to see it differently, look at it from another angle. There's Felicia Searcy is another Unity minister, and she wrote a book, Do Greater Things, about how we can be like Jesus. And she said, forgiveness is not something that I grant to another person, but rather it's a practice that allows me to shift the way I see myself or the event or the person or persons involved. So it's something that I need to do to shift how I see things. And I think it's important to be clear that we're not saying forgiveness means you have to, put up with unacceptable behavior or be in an abusive relationship, that you can fully forgive someone, but also choose to create healthy boundaries. And I think one of the signs that we've truly forgiven someone or something that's happened, maybe if we've reached the point where we can see the gift in it or see that there's been somehow a blessing. What do I know now that I didn't know before? How has this helped me to have greater clarity, to have a new light? So Felicia says, there's some helpful suggestions. When you're really doing forgiveness work, one is enlist help. That's why I love that we're offering this workshop that Tom and Kathy and Anandi are presenting. That this isn't just let's go off and do this everybody do their forgiveness work all by themselves, but we're creating a community of people that are looking at their forgiveness issues and how can we do this together. And so finding safe and appropriate people to talk with about these things, whether it's a friend or a minister or a therapist, but to just know that we don't have to do it alone. And then I think it's helpful to just sometimes be honest about the effects of a situation on our lives. If something happened that was really painful or hurtful, sometimes we just have to say that really hurt, or that to be able to talk about our feelings in a way that doesn't keep us stuck, but helps us to discharge the energy so that it doesn't stay stuck in our lives. And then I like to think that the healing process happens in layers. And that's why, sometimes just doing a forgiveness letter or process, sometimes one time, clears it out for a while, and then another layer of stuff comes up. And when Jesus was asked, well, how many times do we have to do this? The disciples will say, when's this, and his answer was 70 times 7, which really just means as long as it takes until you feel complete. And sometimes it takes a while. We're all working on issues that may go way back. And so when I look at these layers, I was thinking that there's really at least 7 layers that I can think of. There's the first layer is just the presenting situation, the reason that, quote, I think I'm upset. It's our story about something that happened. Somebody said something or did something. We've built a case around it. So that's the first layer. But we can remember that the Course in Miracles says, I'm never upset for the reason I think. So then we get to a deeper layer, that something that happened in our life triggers something deeper, some maybe traumatic experience from before, from our childhood, or some memory. I was thinking about, I heard someone mention to me a while recently that they said their father was a rageaholic. I hadn't heard that term in a while, but it's a pretty strong word. And there are some of us have had parents or people in our lives that were like that, a rageaholic. And so it might be very understandable that when you're around somebody who gets upset or angry, that that's gonna trigger some woundedness from the past. And then there's another layer, is our perception of how the world works. Sometimes we need to heal our belief that there are victims in the world, or that somehow I've been a victim of circumstance. And then the fourth layer is healing that part of me that is like the outer thing that happened. That the truth is that oftentimes when something has happened, that there's some time in my past when I have done something similar, that I was short-tempered, or I said something that I regret. And so there's something within each of us that maybe, we get reminded of, that we need to forgive ourselves for having done something that was like the experience. And forgiving ourselves for falling short. There's times when I wish I had handled that situation differently, or I wish I had thought of a better way to say what I needed to say. So we need to forgive ourselves for not being perfect all the time, that we're human. And then the sixth layer, we're getting the end here. Sixth layer that I thought about is forgiving God for allowing things to happen that are hurtful. And yes, we have to forgive God sometimes too, often we do wonder, how in the world could a loving God allow a painful thing to happen, or murder or abuse or something? And so a lot of us harbor some whatever our understanding of God is, that's why a lot of people have stopped coming to churches or don't want to have anything to do with organized religion, because they haven't found a place that talks about the nature of spirit, of the divine, in a way that makes sense to them in a hurting world where painful things do happen. And then finally, layer 7, I guess I would say, is clarity in our understanding about the true meaning of forgiveness. Forgiveness, is not staying in situations that are painful or hurtful, but it is about, I think, separating the person from the behavior. And this helps a lot to know that we're not inherently bad or wrong or hurtful, but of course, sometimes people make very poor choices or act out of the places from where they're hurting inside themselves. So forgiveness is accepting our responsibility for our thoughts and feelings. It's claiming our power to turn the other cheek, to see it in a new way. It's using all of our spiritual powers, love and wisdom, guidance and discernment, to be able to make wise choices. And most of all, I think forgiveness is getting to that point where we can release the emotional charge we have around something so that we can really be at peace. I've heard this quote. I don't know if our founding minister, Lillian Matthews, said this or something, but that I love this affirmation. There's nothing between us except peace and understanding. So I think maybe when you can really get to the place where you feel that, when you know that, or that then that the forgiveness has happened, where you've reached that place that Edwin Gaines talks about, forgiveness being so deep, so full, so complete, that no traces of bad feeling at all remain within you. So the other thing I just want to close with is that these 7 layers, I think of forgiveness, we're not just doing this healing work for ourselves, that it's multi-generational, that we are healing for our ancestors, for the people that have come before, that when we heal something, it goes back in our ancestral line. It creates healing for our parents and our grandparents and generations before us and generations to come after us. And that we're healing not only our own perceptions, but we're healing a piece of the world and the world's perceptions and of separation. When we create that wholeness, the universe is a hologram. So what happens in me and what happens in you and what happens in us is the world. So for me, I think the most important thing is to start or to keep working on it, to stay committed to the spiritual practice. It's been said, forgiveness may not change the past, but it does enlarge the future. It makes a big difference in our present and our future. So I hope that you'll think about joining us for the second part of this workshop next Saturday, or in some way connecting with the energy of forgiveness. Look at our website page or spend some time in your own way, reflecting, journaling, writing, or speaking, finding the people that you need to communicate with in a safe way to express forgiveness, and most of all, forgiveness for yourself. And remember, you have a secret helper, your inner guidance, the Christ consciousness within that makes this all much easier, I think. So I want to take a few minutes now to transition into our time of meditation. And the Bible passage that goes with the daily word today is so perfect. It's from the book of Isaiah, and he's a prophet. And in our metaphysical understanding of the Bible, prophets were for the, in the ancient times, the ancient Hebrew people, when the people had gone astray, when it seemed that they had lost their way and were not following the will of God. In the Bible, in the Old Testament, a prophet would be raised up. Somebody in the community would stand up and speak powerful spiritual truth that got everybody's attention and helped the community to get back on track, to follow God's will. And so metaphysically, prophets, we have a prophet within ourselves. Our prophet is our higher self, our Christ consciousness, our inner guidance. And when we occasionally get off track and we need to get back on track, or when we have some forgiveness work to do, that prophet, that voice of wisdom within us rises up to give us the guidance. So I want to just invite you now to gently close your eyes and take a few moments to connect with your inner prophet as you take a few deep breaths. And gently, just to know that in this work in our spiritual practice of forgiveness, we can affirm that God's got it. There is a prophet within us, a voice of wisdom and compassion and insight that comes to us when we need it, as we need it, to help us to stay on the path. And in this passage from Isaiah, he said, "For the heavens are higher than the earth, and so are my ways higher than your ways, and my thoughts higher than your thoughts." And so we can know that through the voice of spirit within us, that there is within us a higher, the ability to see things from a higher perspective, beyond just our earthly story about things, but that there is a heavenly perspective, ways that are higher than our ways, thoughts that are higher than our initial human thoughts. So let us take a few moments now in the silence to open our minds and our hearts to receive our guidance, to allow the prophet within us to rise up. And allow these words to be your words. I forgive myself completely for every mistake I've ever made. I forgive others, knowing that we all did the best we could at the time. I allow myself to feel forgiven and to move forward in life. I set myself free. And now we'll listen to the words of this song by Karen Drucker, I Forgive You.
I forgive you. Will you forgive me? I didn't mean to hurt you. I just couldn't see your point of view, your hurt and pain. Forgive me now. Let me try again. Will you forgive me? Will you take my hand, look me in the eye, and understand sometimes I just don't know the things I do unintentionally wind up hurting you. Will you forgive me? Please don't close the door. Don't close down your heart. Just get angry at me or scream and cry. We can move towards the light if we're both willing to try. I forgive you. Will you forgive me? I know that love is our destiny. We stumble and fall, but we learn and grow, and together we'll find what our hearts already know. Will you forgive me? I'll forgive you. Will you forgive me? I'll forgive you. Please don't close the door. No, don't close down your heart. Just get angry at me or scream and cry. We can move towards the light if we're both willing to try. I forgive you. Will you forgive me? I know that love is our destiny, and we stumble and fall, but we learn and grow, and together we'll find what our hearts already know. Will you forgive me? I'll forgive you. 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 Will you forgive me?
Thank you. Thank you for that beautiful song. And I was thinking, I remember a while back I heard someone misunderstood when I said namaste to them. misunderstood and they thought I was saying no mistake. And so, but I think there's a lot of truth to both of those. And I thought we could close out this part of our service by affirming together, no mistake and namaste. So thank you for sharing your practice with me today. It's no mistake, namaste. So I want to just remind us again, practicing generosity. And we're really so grateful for the giving that supports our ministry. And want to, since we're doing this on Zoom today, the way that you can contribute to our ministry, to share a tithe or gift or love offering is through the website, the Donate Now button, or through mailing in a check to the church. And I really hope we'll all be together in person next week out on the Peace Park. But let's bless the gifts that you give for our ministry, whether it's today or this week or this month. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Freely I give, and freely I receive. Thank you, God. We bless these gifts and see them pressed down, shaken together, heaped up, and running over. Return to every giver. Thank you, God. So we have a few transformational opportunities here, and the first one is from Mike Serio.
Thank you, Reverend Mary. Welcome, everyone. I don't know if you can see me okay. Yeah, this Friday at 7:30 p.m. at the Amherst campus of UB, they have a big recital hall with their organ called Slee Hall. It's in between the Center for the Arts building and Baird Hall. And I'm doing my first faculty recital there. And I'd like, to welcome all of you. It will be a safe event. People will be wearing masks and they'll make sure that people are 6 feet apart. But I'm really excited about the program. I've been working on this program for over a year, so I'm ready to share it with as many people who would like to be there. So if you have any other questions, you can email me or message me or something. But thank you for allowing me to share my music with you.
Good. Well, thank you. Great. I hope I'll be there. I plan to be there. Thank you for inviting all of us to be part of your, to enjoy your music and be part of this accomplishment for you. Just a reminder about the second part of the forgiveness workshop is this Saturday, 10 to 11:30 on Zoom. The Zoom link is in our email blast. And then we're doing signups right now for our Spirit Group series. The next Spirit Groups, which is based on this book, you can see by Marianne Williamson, A Politics of Love, a handbook for a new American revolution. And I've started reading it. It's just really wonderful. And I know we've got quite a few people in our church that are really excited to delve into it. But there will be 4 different groups meeting. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I think you can pick a day and a time that works for you. Most of them will be on Zoom. There might be one group meeting in person. So that'll start the week of September 20th. And then also, so please, think about if you want to kind of be part of a smaller group and get to know some people and deepen your relationships in your study. That's a great way to do it. And then, of course, our autumn equinox is coming up on Wednesday, September 22nd, 5 to 7 outside on the Peace Park, and you'll be hearing more about that. Then the last thing I just want to mention that's very important is on Sunday, October 10th, we will be having our annual congregational meeting. And we'll be sending out an announcement about this soon, a separate mailing with some proposed bylaw changes to put us more in compliance with what's recommended by Unity Worldwide. And we're also looking for a couple of new board members. So if you are interested, if you've been a member of our church for a while, if you've demonstrated some leadership or commitment or interest, and you would think you might be interested in being part of our leadership team, please see John Michaels, contact John Michaels or myself. You can email us through the website, and we'll give you more information about what's involved with that. But let's close with the prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And all is well with our soul. We know that for sure. So,